Hi, everybody. I'm Gil Frelick, 3D specialist with Sirona. Thank you for joining us today. Very excited and happy to have Dr. Neil Patel and Dr. August de Oliveira with me. And guys, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to join us. Before we get started, I'd like to take a brief moment to have the doctors introduce themselves, and then we'll go from there. Dr. Patel?
Hi, Gil. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Can you tell us a little bit about your practice and how long you've had the technology?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, I'm a general dentist by degree. I've had the cone beam in my practice for approximately 6.5 years at this point, and so I've been on the journey since the very beginning, and I've seen the product evolve into a completely different piece of equipment by way of updates and modules and software updates. And so I'm here today to kind of share my idea as to what it's become and where obviously it started, but what it is today is completely different.
Thanks, Dr. Patel. Yeah, things are definitely changing quite rapidly. We also have Dr. De Oliveira with us today. Dr. De Oliveira, can you tell us a little bit about your practice and how long you've had the technology?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a garden variety general dentist. I practice in LA. I've had, this is my second cone beam with Sirona. It's my third cone beam total. So I started with the XG 3D about 3 years ago, and I just got the Comfort Plus. We place some implants in my office. We do some endo. I do primarily guided surgery when I place implants. So I've been using my CIREC and my Galileos together, especially using CIREC guide. Um, Pretty much almost every day in my practice.
Awesome. All right. Well, we've known each other for a while, and for years we've collaborated on these large 3D events. And really, here's what we know. We know we've helped a lot of people figure out, evaluate, and educate themselves ultimately on whether or not to make a decision if 3D fits in their practice, and if so, where and how. And we want to continue that success. Our goal is to help a lot more people, and there's still a ton of people that we haven't gotten to yet. However, there's a lot of events throughout the year that a doctor can attend, and I completely understand where sometimes it's hard for a doctor to know whether or not there's enough value, whether there's enough meaningful content, or whether it's relevant to what they want to learn. So I was hoping we could have a kind of a brief dialogue, and I can bounce a couple of questions that I've gotten from the field in regards to this event to you guys to get your feedback, since you guys will be the ones presenting there. So the first question I have for you guys is based on what you've seen and heard and the content that you're going to present at these events. What type of dentistry would you say, somebody that comes to this event could or should be doing that would lead them to have interest and ultimately find this event valuable? Dr. Patel?
It's kind of interesting. When I first started this journey, I really thought that cone beam was a specialty device, if you will, and it was a niche product. And then I had to reflect over the past few years, and I've honestly realized that it's a tool that allows me to do comprehensive dentistry. It's not just about implants, although that's what we enjoy most about it because it's allowing us to do implants where without it, I don't think I would be doing implants. But I've learned along the way that there's no better primary diagnostic tool out there. I mean, as a dentist, a general dentist, that is our primary objective when we see patients, is to first identify what their needs are. And if you give yourself the opportunity to see everything, literally, whether it's a tooth that has a non-healing apical lesion, or finally identifying a source of pain for a patient that was otherwise missed because 2D images don't show a root fracture, it gives us a sense of feeling unstoppable. When I walk into my practice on Monday, I don't care what kind of messages are on the phone. I feel ready. I feel ready to see any patient that comes in because I have a cheat sheet, and that cheat sheet is cone beam.
Yeah, thank you. And August, what would you say as far as the different types of dentistry that a clinician may or maybe they're not doing, maybe they have interest in doing? What do you think you would say to a clinician to say, if a clinician asked you, hey, what type of dentistry do I need to be doing to kind of have this technology? What would you say?
I mean, the gallows is like a Swiss Army knife. I mean, it's got so many things you can use it in. I mean, ortho, TMJ, endo, just diagnosing, as Neil was saying, figuring out where the patient's pain is, implants and endo. We really kind of focus on the implant aspect of cone beam. But God, just the other day, I mean, patient came in, we couldn't really tell some things up in a PA. We couldn't really see up in the sinus. Took the cone beam. It is blatantly obvious. It was tooth number 14. Saw that it had an MB2. I was prepared. I knew going into that tooth, hey, don't stop until you found that fourth canal. So it's, as Neil said, it's just you're so much more prepared for general dentistry. It is not a specialty device.
Yeah. So, the other part of when clinicians are considering coming to this event, part of it's a clinical decision. Do I need the technology to make better decisions? Do I feel like I'm going to get more out of a 3D device or a 3D image? But then the other part is, there's a lot of time that they commit to come to these events. It's either a day or 2 days. In this case, the event is a 2-day event. And in some cases, doctors give up a day of production. And so for them, the reality is they're kind of twisted between, do I invest the time in coming to this event to learn about potentially implementing a new technology, or do I stay in my practice and have a day of production? And again, there's a lot of courses that doctors can attend throughout the year. So Dr. De Oliveira, what would you say makes this event a little different? And could you comment maybe a little bit on why you think this would be a good investment, like from clinician to clinician? Why would you invest a day of potentially lost production to come to an event like this?
Yeah, there's nothing worse than giving up a day of production and going to a class and learning nothing, or hearing a big sales line or a sales pitch. And one thing that's always been told to us speakers is that we're not here to sell stuff. We're here to teach, to share things that we're doing in our practice. So, whenever you go to one of these events, you're going to learn something that's going to greatly benefit your practice, both personally and financially. There's going to be people speaking about, accounting, TMJ, implants. If you're not placing implants already, we'll get you fired up to start taking the steps, getting the education to do it. So it's well worth taking a day off in your practice.
Dr. Patel, how would you answer the same question?
I hear that question all the time. And for those of us that are in the club, if you will, those of us that actually have the cone beam, the regret that most of us have is that we never got started earlier, that we actually twiddle our thumbs and really contemplated whether we should take on the burden and the expense of such an expensive piece of equipment. It's silly. Hindsight is always 20/20, and I think the clinician who has to think about losing a day of production, I absolutely respect that, because August and I are both wet-fingered clinicians. But sitting from the other side of the fence, from where we sit, the bigger question, or perhaps the better question, would be, what is the loss of potential production by not having cone beam? The reality is that most dentists are happy doing what they're doing. They don't want to change anything. And in fact, they fear technology because historically, technology, I think, can be cumbersome to implement, especially if you're a well-oiled machine and you've got systems and protocols in place. Usually technology will throw a hurdle into the whole system or a wrench into the system. But I think it's a necessary evil, because what cone beam does to a practice is it completely transforms the practice. It opens up opportunities in doing ideal dentistry. It allows you to elevate your clinical therapy. And most importantly, I think the beauty of this technology is that patients, without any question, when they see their own image and see the needs that the clinician is expressing, a picture is worth 1,000 words to a patient. And I think I value that. And I know that taking a day off in practice is tough, especially in this economy. But I think you owe it to yourself, and I think more importantly, you owe it to your family and to your patients.
This whole 3D category is evolving. And I know there's some doctors that could potentially be watching this video that attended one of our events 12, 18 months ago, or even 2 years ago. And sometimes the perception is, oh, I've been to one of those shows before. Sirona calls it a 3D Summit, and in fact, Sirona still does. What would you say to one of those doctors? What would you tell one of those doctors or one of those people who said, "Oh, I've been to that show before"? Um, Dr. De Oliveira?
Well, when I present at the summits, for me, it's like a big show and tell. And just like show and tell when you were a kid at school, you're not going to bring the same cat in or the same, toy in. So every time I do a lecture, I try to change it. I try to put in different cases. Things evolved. I mean, I don't know how much we can really talk about, but Sirona's rolling out some really cool stuff. There's a lot of things coming up. There's a lot of big changes. For the Emacs abutment blocks, we're finally going to be able to show them and talk about them. I've got a ton of Emacs cases that I've just been dying to show. So when they come and see Neil or Tarun or me or anyone else, we change things up. We keep things very current. And I'm not the funniest guy in the world, so I'm always trying out new jokes to see if people actually laugh. So,
Nice.
I would agree. He's not the funniest guy in the world.
no, it's bad. It's like I'm like an accountant.
That's a great question, Gil. I think that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, August and I were doing certain things using this technology. Today, it's completely different. As August had mentioned, we're milling abutments, we're designing them and milling them chairside and seating them chairside. That's unheard of. On the cone beam side of things, what we're looking forward to is functional analysis and looking at jaw tracking, but not just looking at conventional jaw tracking. We're talking about actually being able to see the cone beam move and replicate the functional movement patterns of your patient and consider the treatment that could come from that, and at least analyzing the patient's entire stomathematic system instead of thinking about it, subjectively. You can actually objectify some of the stuff that we've always dreamed of being able to do, and that's what I think we're going to bring to the table this next 3D Summit in Princeton. I think it's what's the freshest and the latest clinical update as it applies to this technology. So yes, we're always going to talk about implants, but that, for us, August and I, it seems like it was so 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So we'll talk about implants, but what we're really excited about is the new features. The stuff that we've never been able to do before is now actually tangible.
Yeah, and it's even these summits even evolve to the point where we see a high percent of current owners that come to these events because they want to learn from guys that are pushing the technology like you and August. They come to see how you guys are pushing the technology to its limits. So the content evolves, the product line evolves, the innovation and research and development to Sirona keeps pushing these products in a clear direction. So I would encourage anybody in any level of 3D, whether you've had experience in 3D, whether this is used to be an introduction to 3D, regardless of what your experience has been with 3D in the past, I think there's a lot to gain from coming to this event. And that's another concern. Doctors feel, or the perception sometimes is that these are just sales events. And certainly while Patterson and Sirona are sales organizations, we believe heavily in the investment of education. And, so what would you guys say to clinicians that are concerned that they're going to come to a 2-day event and constantly be tried to, that they're going to be tried to sell, sold something, that Patterson and Sirona are just going to try to sell me a machine. You guys obviously are kind of committed to these events, thankfully, for us. And from an education standpoint, how do you feel these events are geared? Neil?
I'll be honest. Is it a sales event? It is. And quite honestly, this is the one time you should listen, because I honestly think that Sirona and Patterson are onto something. And I've invested my practice, I've invested my time into this product because I see what it does for patients. I see what it does for clinicians. And what drives me forward is the thank yous that I get, the thank yous that August gets from sharing this valuable tool and bringing dentists up to speed on what really can be done with these technologies. I think ultimately we can't force you to go, and nor should you be forced to invest in this technology, but someone there has to hold your hand. And I think that Patterson, Sirona, and the clinicians that are speaking have an important message to send to you, and we only request that you listen because it's going to impact your career and going to change your practice completely.
Dr. De Oliveira?
Yeah, dentists are smart. Their BS meter goes up when someone's trying to sell them stuff or try to get them to do something. Neil and I both have really busy practices, and we can. We don't have to teach. We don't have to go out and do this, but we do it because we're so excited about it. We're so happy to have this in our practice. We found a solution to problems the dentists have. And in my experience, this is, again, this isn't my first rodeo. It's my third cone beam, and my first cone beam was a non-Sirona cone beam. And I'm just out there to kind of let dentists know, hey, I've looked at other units. I've played with other units. I've had another unit. This is just working in my practice, and it's working well. So, we're all about the education. We're all about sharing what's fun and cool in our practice. So I don't think anyone's going to come out of there feeling like they got, sold.
Yeah. Guys, are there any other comments you'd like to make? I'm all set with my questions. So Sirona is definitely, like I said, dedicated to the educational experience for clinicians. And we're committed to this concept of improving your practice lifestyle and your patient's experience when they walk in your office. So I would encourage anyone who's considering coming to this event to challenge yourself, not to come and buy a machine, but to challenge yourself to take that day off of work, to come to the 3D Summit on February 28th in Princeton, and to learn more about how this technology can influence your practice lifestyle and your patient's experience. And, at the end of this 2-day event, if you decide that your practice isn't ready for 3D, that's totally okay. But many of you will find that 3D is in your future at some point. It may be in the near future, in which case we can figure out what the next step is for you, or you might need a clear path to decide how to get there. And the journey starts February 28th in Princeton. Dr. Neil Patel in August, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm just looking forward to the event. I think it's going to be fun sharing some of the new things that are coming out. Honestly, we're unveiling them for the first time as this is the first summit of the year, and just looking to seeing some excited people and some familiar faces that we get to see along the road, and just share our experiences.
All right. Thank you so much, Neil, for your time. I appreciate it. August?
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait. These are always so much fun, and it's fun for me just to go out there and meet other dentists, and we all have the same problems in our practice. So whether it's you want to learn how to do implants or you want to start doing more TMJ in your practice, come up to us and ask us questions. We're going to be there. There's a reception after day one. Come on up, and we're all buddies. So come over and say hi.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Again, it's February 28th and March 1st in Princeton. To register, go to www.3dsummit.com. We hope to see you all there. It's going to be fun. It's going to be an exciting educational opportunity. So don't miss it, and we'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gail.
Thanks, Gail.